Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, everyone.
Morning. Morning.
There any changes to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, under the consent agenda, item number 3, I have an add-on commissioners warrants dated 6/14 of 22 for $7,701.36, 7701.36. And if you'd please add at 9:05 with Sheriff Freeman's update, it's going to update the board on vehicle purchase. And those are the only two adjustments I have to the agenda.
Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move the agenda with the additions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Approve the consent agenda. Approve the minutes of 5/24/22. Approve the auditor warrants of 5/25/22, 5/26/22, 6/3 of 22, and 6/10 of 22. Approve the commissioner warrants and the add-ons of 7701.36. Approve the hospital warrants of $470,926.84. Approve the May treasurer's report.
Move for approval. Supported.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Brad, you have the floor.
Thank you for allowing me on the agenda today. As you know, we always try to be conscious of properties that may come for sale that are very close and adjacent to the hospital. And we do have an ongoing need with the number of locums workers and providers to provide housing for them when they help us. And the property at 908 5th Avenue Southwest came for sale. And we already own 2 properties on that side of the street. The one right next to our parking lot, which I believe is 904, and then the 1002 on down the street, a couple houses. And so working with the realtor, and we have a concept that we put together, offer to purchase the house for $161,300. And I'm here today to answer any questions and ask for your approval for that.
Are there any questions? Hearing none, I entertain a motion for approval.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Mike Edison?
Morning.
Morning.
Morning. Sheriff Freeman had just asked to stop down, update you guys with the K9 purchase. So we did go through North Iowa K9 like we discussed earlier. He was able to find us a dog right away, so that's already in country, getting trained. So we went ahead and put the money down on that dog, got the check for the $10,600. So that's including the dog, all the training, the hotel expenses, everything. So our trainer actually took care of all that. So we just paid him the one lump sum instead of us having to pay for the dog, for the training, for the hotel room, and all that kind of stuff. So right now we're hoping around August he's going to get, well, hoping we'll have the dog around August. So his plan is to get it right now, start training it for the next few weeks. Then our handler will go around August, and then start training with the dog for 4 weeks, and then we'll have it back here at the sheriff's office. So same plan. This one looks like it's going to be a Belgian Malinois, same as the other 2 dogs that we have, and strictly trained for drug searching, so a narcotics dog. So hopefully we'll have that here in August for us.
Okay.
And then the other item that the sheriff asked us to talk about was the squad purchases. Back before we had the approval to purchase the 2 Durangos, we were contacted by Chrysler in February that they canceled one of our orders. and that happened nationwide. So there's a few sheriff's offices out there that actually lost all of their squad orders. We were able to keep one Durango, and Papix was able to secure us a Silverado pickup. And for that price, the truck came in at $36,500. I believe Sheriff Freeman talked about it a little bit earlier or before, but it looks like we're going to take delivery of that truck actually today. So we'll be set good. We'll have squads. It's not the Durango that we ordered, but it's an outfitted Silverado that's going to do everything that we need it to do. So, just kind of,
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that the board pass a motion to approve payment of the Silverado to Papic Motors on an auditor's warrant, so they can have the check when they go take delivery.
Okay,
Make that motion. I'll second that.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Make it easier for you.
That'll help, yeah, that'll help the process.
yeah, he's going to come actually deliver it today around 10 o'clock. So
Oh, wow.
we'll have the actual final bill, the number of it, and we'll get all that submitted for payment.
Okay. Good.
Sounds good.
I had a question on the dog. Do you have a handler lined up for it already? Who is that? Is that allowed to us to know or not?
Yeah, so the sheriff has selected Josh Watts, one of
Josh
our
Watts.
deputies.
Okay.
To be the handler for the dog, so he'll be the one going through the training. He's right now getting worked on getting the kennel set up for at home and all that kind of stuff so far. So.
Looks like in the hotel, the dog gets to stay with him right away.
Yeah, it's once he goes to the hotel, they have a kennel in the hotel for him and everything. So
That's good.
he'll get that dog right away from day one when he starts training. And
That's part of the training too, overnight.
Yep, he'll stay there throughout the week, Monday through Friday. The dog will come home with him on the weekends, and through a 4-week process. So once he shows up, he gets the dog, and it's his to handle and take care of after that point. So
There's no divorce.
right, exactly. Here it is.
You know, honestly, a lot of the training is that, right?
Oh, yeah.
The handler getting to know the dog and the dog getting to know the handler. Once that's committed,
Feeding routine and all that good
a
stuff.
lot of it gets pretty simple.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of work, don't get me wrong, but it makes it easier. And then just to clarify too, that with all the canines that we have, they're not promotions, they're assignments. So the sheriff had talked to everybody on staff, asked for interest, and I think that was actually the only interest we got back.
Yep.
And we think that was a great fit anyways. And Josh had asked us a couple years ago even just to tell us he was interested if we ever
Ever got a dog?
transitioned or changed handlers, because it's a lot of work being a canine handler. So once a person's had 1 or 2 dogs, they're
But you have
time to move on to something different.
to like dogs though too
Yup.
to start with.
Right.
And it's a lot of commitment. I mean, it's training not only while you're working, but on your own time, on your days off. Maintaining the dog, making sure they make them to their appointments, their certifications throughout the year. So it's a lot of commitment to this program. So we think Josh will be a good fit. And he's already a drug recognition expert. So he's one of the 2 guys that we have that can go out there and work that. And this will just kind of
Work
help
that
him
end
with
of it, too.
that aspect also. So
Kind of 2 tasks with one. If we have one, if someone needs him as a DRE, chances are we need a canine for the same, if it's a traffic stop, say, and, you know, when we do call a canine out for that if they're available. Well, now, in some particular instances, maybe we can get that done with just one person coming out too. So that'll work well. And then the other thing, you know, the county obviously owns the dog, but the dog becomes a part of that deputy's family. So, I mean, it really does. It's a great program, and it's a great program for the community to be able to be involved with them too. And it works. We do a lot of presentations with the 2 we have now, and it works very nice. So.
yeah, we plan on being down at Dutch Festival. We're doing a presentation with the dogs down there during that. So go to the schools all the time. Pretty much if anyone in the community wants to see them, we'll bring them out there and show them a lot of the schools and stuff.
Sure.
We go through and see, let the kids meet the dogs and explain what the dogs do and what we do as law enforcement. It's kind of a way of us bonding with the younger generations. So.
Does the dog have a special harness or something that wears so it knows it's on duty?
It depends on how it's trained.
Okay.
So mine, yes, when I put a different collar on her, she knows it's
She
time
knows
to
it's
find
time to work.
drugs. Yeah, so I switch them out, and that's just my training with her. She'll know that when that goes on, it's time to go to work. So, yeah,
That's good.
They can sense it. They can sense those things. You know,
Yeah.
pets, especially dogs, cats, whatever, they can really sense that, you know. You can just tell the intensity when a deputy goes just on a traffic stop that's a canine deputy who has a dog in the back. Sometimes the dog's barking right away and sometimes the dog's not, but it's like they almost, they can sense that intensity coming, you know, and so it's really amazing. It's a great program to have, so it's been very successful for us anyway.
Yeah, we're real fortunate to have it.
And the county didn't have to pay for it, right? Is that my understanding?
The funds for the dog all came out of drug forfeiture funds, so.
If somebody asks, we can tell them that.
Yep.
Yep, so there was, it's basically funds that were forfeited over drug arrests.
Yeah.
So,
What a great use for that money.
well, that's what it's for, and that's
Yeah.
that's exactly what it's for, is to put it back in towards the community and fighting that. And that's what, it's a great allocation for it.
It
so.
is, it really is.
I
Well,
think-
thank you.
so, Yep, thanks guys.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I just contacted Jody. She'll be looking for your invoice when you
Okay.
get it, so
That
she'll
sounds
go ahead and
great.
get that taken care of.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Nick, it's your turn. You're not first this time.
I can wait my turn.
Sliding down the.
Yep. I've got no problem waiting my turn, so. All right, first up for me today is some project updates. First update I have is actually a really unique one. That second project on the list, RNG Construction 2021 Box Culverts Contract number 4. These culverts are on County Road 18 and then one just off of 18 on County Road 2, so between Woodstock and Edgerton. That contractor got held up on some other jobs, came down and looked at these, noticed the water was rather low, asked if they could work on it during that Topeka Shiner restricted window. I said, well, we can reach out and ask, you know, all they can do is tell us no. So we met on site with the DNR. They checked the areas. I guess the areas in particular weren't very sensitive, and with the low water level, they gave us the approval to go ahead and do it. So we then took their okay letter and we shared that and consulted with Fish and Wildlife, and they said, yep, do whatever the DNR has for restrictions. They did have some, like if we get over a ½ inch of rain or something, we have to consult with them, but we actually got approval to work on them now. So they started this morning, so that's unusual for us, and that's fantastic. I think that'd be great to have that done by harvest, because I know there's, you know, every road is important to somebody, but there's a lot of traffic on that road. So we're working on that now. It's been an odd year. We got some clearance to do that on a bridge project and now some culverts, and I'm not planning on that being the norm, but at least we'll know it's possible. So if conditions are in favor of that, you know, we know that we can at least ask again and there's a chance. So that's good news there. Next update I have is for the Bridges by Island, and I am very pleased to report that the drilling is complete. So, yeah. The second bridge went a lot better than the first. Must be a little different bedrock over there. I know it's not that far apart, but I did ask the DNR guy if he'd ever heard of that, and he said it can change quite a bit in pretty short distance, so he didn't think that was that out of place. So the drilling is complete. They filled the piling on at least one of them with concrete yesterday, and they're forming the abutment now. So things are kind of back on track, if you will, at a normal pace. So 2022 overlays, that work is complete with the exception of the white edge stripe. We spec into plans that they'll have to come back later and do the white edge stripe. That's because when they do the shouldering, it often gets rather dirty, and we don't want to paint on top of a bunch of dirt and then it washes off right away. Now it's possible that we would get enough rain to clean it off before
before they would be in the stripe, but generally speaking, they do the center line first, and then they'll have to come back at the end of the year to do the white edge, so. Last update I have would be, the County Gravel Road Centerline Tile Project. If you recall, we solicited bids last year, but didn't get any interest. Everybody was too full already. So I sent that out, and I hope to be back with a recommendation at one of the next 2 meetings. So there's that. Next item I have would be the annual report. I believe you all got hard copies of that, correct? Okay. If anybody had a chance to review that and has any questions now, I'll take a shot at answering them, but oftentimes I have to go back and have accounting clear it up for me. So if you have any questions now, I'll gladly take them. Otherwise, if you think of any, we can talk about it at the next meeting, or beforehand, if you want to just email me, then I can have an answer by the next meeting for sure. So I'm fine, however you want to do it. So
We just got it. Nice to have a chance to look through it.
right, it's a lot of information to look at. So I'll if I remember, I'll put it on my agenda for the next meeting as well. So. Yeah. Next item I have is, do we want to have another 6-month contract for fuel? Okay. I don't know which direction it's heading, up or down, so, and
You tell us which directions it's
yeah,
going.
then you'll decide. Right?
If you know that, you're gonna be a very wealthy
Oh
man.
yes, yeah. I probably wouldn't need to work here anymore if I knew how to do that. But so, with it being volatile, I don't know if anybody's willing to bid, but we can certainly advertise and send it to our normal bidders and see if we get any bids. And then, if you feel there's a lot of speculation in there in that bid, we can just reject them all too. So,
Right.
I was able to contract for winter propane yesterday, so they must be able to
okay,
lock in some prices.
okay, well, that's good
And it
news.
is only 6 months.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So what did you have in mind for a date then? Just 2 weeks from today?
Sure.
Yeah, that would work.
Okay. So that would be the
14 and 14 is 28.
28th.
28th
The
meeting?
way it's been moving, sooner is probably better than later,
Okay.
especially if the projections for August come true.
Oh, $6 a gallon average? Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know who to believe in all that, but it's been certainly taken off like crazy, so.
Availability might become a problem at some point in time too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to have some on hand.
Yeah, true. Okay, well, June 28th at, what time, is that usually at 10:30 we do those?
Yep, sounds good.
I know we want to give, traditionally we've been taking 10:30 as like a bid opening time just to make sure that the mail-in bids have time to get here. I don't see anybody mailing in a bid on fuel when it's that volatile, so, usually we get those the morning of, so. We can leave it there, but I mean, if you felt strongly you wanted to do it earlier, I don't think it'd bother on fuel. Construction projects, we should probably leave it, but fuel, man. Okay.
Probably be
30's
just
fine.
lucky to get some bids.
Yeah, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if nobody was willing to bid on it. That wouldn't surprise me at all, but if that scenario happened, I think we would probably just call our local 3 suppliers and just
Plan
ask
as
for
needed.
tanker quotes, and then whoever's low, we just go with them as needed, so. Okay,
We do get a deduction for taxes, don't we? We don't pay any fuel tax on it, do we? State tax?
Good thing we got the bigger tank.
there's some different,
You're not paying pump price anyway. 'Cause
it's spelled out in the, I know Dave Halbersma did a lot of work when he put that together originally, and it's spelled out in there what we do and don't pay.
Right.
I don't have that memorized.
Yeah,
I'd have to
that's-
read it again, but yeah, it's not pump price.
Right.
It'll be better than that. Next item for me would be surplus equipment. Sounds like the list I just provided is all that we're gonna have. So I think I assume I need board approval, and then at which time I would pretty much take this list I have here, and then I would put it on our letterhead, and I would send it out to all the townships and cities within the county and ask them to submit a bid, and then we'd put all the bids together, whatever got bid on, and come back.
Make sure Edgerton gets a copy of that, because
Yep,
they were interested in a couple things on the thing.
Yep, they contacted me. I plan on sending it to every city
They
and
have
every.
contacted you already?
Yes,
That's good.
yep. I know they're interested, so.
Good.
So I would put all that together, and then I'd give it to the board to decide if you want to sell it to the local, or if we want to put it on an auction, or if we want to. Some of the stuff's probably just scrap iron anyway, so yeah, with board approval, I'd put that together and I'd mail that out and give you the list to decide. So
Entertain a motion for that.
Move.
Okay.
Support it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Do you have the scrap iron guy you use all the time, or?
we have like a roll-off dumpster for scrap iron, but some of our old shouldering machine, I don't know that. I'd do some internet research. I don't know if that'd fit in there.
There's a couple guys out of Edgerton area that do scrap. So.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think it'd be easier.
You want me to have them contact you?
Yeah, we could do that. Would you like this on our county website too, or did you want to leave it to just the government agencies? I guess I was only going to send it to the government agencies, but it don't make any difference to me.
Scrappers aren't government agents.
Right.
No, but for the equipment, shouldn't the government agent, cities or townships have first dibs?
They should, yes.
Yeah.
But there's some stuff on here that scrap.
Yeah.
And it's just
Yeah.
basically scrap. Homemade something that nobody else is ever going to use.
Well, I guess we could decide what to do with the rest of it after we get
Sure.
bids on this.
There's no hurry with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
the Edgerton guy have a chance at it,
yeah. Yep. And some of this stuff, like, geez, I don't know. It's probably, if you sold it for $1 even or something, it'd probably be cheaper than what it cost us to get rid of it.
Pay to get rid of it,
Yeah, that could happen. So I guess we'll just have to decide that when the time comes. But what kind of timeline are you thinking? Do we kind of need to make this a little bit farther out? Because I think some townships and cities probably only meet monthly, so I don't want them to get.
Right. I think we'd have to go 30 days for sure.
Okay, so if we did this, if I had the quotes back to you by like the last meeting in July, would that
That would work
would
perfect.
that cover us? Okay.
So we can get rid of it before it freezes back down. Some more.
And the motion was approved.
Okay, so that'll be my target for the last meeting in July, but I don't know. We're pretty short staffed now, and we got a bunch of construction coming at us. So if something comes up, I'll move it accordingly. But I'll have it. I'll try to give at least 30 days. So
Steve?
Mr. Chairman, Nick, I did talk to Bill about your copier printer, and he said there's virtually no markets for those. No one buys those. If no one does buy it, just take it to Trevor and
Okay.
recycle it.
okay.
If you get something for it, great. But if you don't like sit on it forever.
Yeah.
If they don't take it in trade, it's not worth anything to anybody. And
Yep.
that's really not a scrapper's paradise anyway. And that's mostly plastic and.
Yeah, it just I don't know. It's kind of funny with me. Like it still works. I would think somebody could get it. I know our last one we got a pretty decent bid on it from a local church, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe some small city that could use it.
Maybe, but then again, how much money do we spend advertising and trying to sell something
Yeah.
we're only going to get a few $100 for? So, so yeah, that's That's how I remember Bill talking about it a year ago or whatever, whenever it came up, so.
If the companies don't take them in trade, they're not really worth anything. So, I mean, they would take them apart. I mean,
Sure.
that's at least 5, 6, 7 years old, I presume, isn't it?
I'm thinking probably,
Even more?
if I had to guess, I would guess probably closer to 8, because I think we generally trade them at 5, but this one was working really well.
Mm-hmm.
We ran it to 7, I want to say, and then actually the reason we ended up getting rid of it is because the scanner wasn't high enough quality for when we scanned
Sure.
signed plans. You know, we scan them, send them to the state would sign them, send them back. Well, by the time all that got done, they were so blurry you couldn't really put them on the website. So that's really what got this one going. But it'd be, I don't know, and you know, maybe by now it wouldn't work that good anymore. That stuff kind of goes bad with time too. But
Right.
okay, well, that's what we'll do there. Next for me would just be some regular maintenance updates, and that would be we've been working on some storm cleanup. We had that flooding a while back. We had a lot of stocks washing the ditch, so been working on that, and then hauling gravel and blading, kind of taking care of the springtime road conditions. So that's it for me. Did anybody have any questions?
I don't.
Thank Nick for our work you do for the county.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
If you get any, I don't know, angry phone calls about road being closed, which you might, send them my way, but it's got to be done. But it's certainly inconvenient for everyone at the time. But just tell them at least it won't be during harvest, right?
And we got an answer about the shiners too, so.
Yeah, we did. If that comes up, I personally met on site with the contractor and the DNR representative, so we're not just making this up. We got letters to prove it, so.
Good.
Yep. All right, well,
Thank you, Nick.
sounds good. I'll be back at 10:30 for that bid opening then, so.
Sounds good.
All right.
Jason. You have reinforcements coming today?
Well, I thought I did, but I might be flying solo here. That's okay.
We're shorthanded up here too, so.
I see that. We'll make it very quick and brief here.
We're passing a lot of things that we want.
That's good, right? So, yeah, it's nice to be inside. I think it's going to get a little balmy out there. So,
That's great. We have a farm, so.
oh yeah. But today I'm just here to do a quick rundown of our 2021 audit and kind of recap some activities from last year and this year. So all information. And we sent out the electronic copy, so I hope everybody had gotten it.
I did not
Did
get
not.
any copies of anything when I got it.
Oh, I apologize.
No, I can, yeah, but with you, I can go rip some copies real quick if you got it.
I do.
If there's
I
a,
was kind of looking for that when I seen you
Yeah,
were
no,
on
I
the
didn't-
agenda.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sorry. I can send you an electronic copy.
Well, no, this would be fine. Just have a copy to kind of follow along a little bit with.
Sure. Yeah, oh no, I'm sorry. We typically, when we set the schedule, we typically send out the electronic copy, so this must have got missed.
all right.
Well, how about this?
Go ahead.
Would I switch around and do some of the activities first?
Sure.
Okay. Keep this going. All right. In 2021, Lincoln Pipestone connected 84 new customers. Typically, we are in the 40 to 55 range each year outside of an expansion. But because of the drought, we've seen a remarkable increase in requests. So yeah, we hit 84, which is kind of our new high, and things are going strong this year as well. Of those 84 last year, and this is system-wide throughout our 10 counties, 79 were residential hookups, 4 livestock confinements, and 1 winery. And the winery happened to be located on the north end of our system. For Pipestone specific, we had 6 new customers hook up. All 6 happens to be assessed at this point. I did run some statistics last week to see how many accounts we had in every county, and so I come up with Pipestone. I have roughly 756 accounts, so quite a few accounts in Pipestone County. So that's been the bulk of our busyness last year, and with materials short and deliveries an issue. Thank you. Yeah, that's been touch and go, and it continues into this year as well. For our capital improvement projects, we finally completed a multi-year, multi-phase priority 2 project. It was 5 projects in total, the last 3 being a system-wide SCADA, so all of our monitoring technology for all our sites. That was finished. The Tyler to Russell pipeline, it was about 12.5 miles of pipeline, that was complete. And we did some upgrades to our Lincoln pump station, which is just on the south side of Lake Benton. One of our older pump stations, we put new pumps and motors and VFDs in there. So that wraps up that. We are, because there's no rest in our world, we're gonna right back on the horse, and we're working on our North Water project. A couple of years ago, we put in 2 new wells up by the Boyd area and looking for a new source. We found the source. We're working with the DNR and acquiring permits up there. We actually just here a couple months ago completed the purchase of 25 acres for a new treatment plant site up there. So we're looking to get a full-fledged water source up there. Right now, the north part of our system is in our Burr service area. We can't hook up a city or a livestock facility just because we're limited on that. And outside of that, we are working with the community of Lake Benton on possibly getting a new office and site complex. So no more, hopefully, being in a house for the last 40 years. We're actually going to grow up, and but they've been very great to work with and trying to keep us our company local, and so we're looking at a site on the north in an annex portion on the north side of town. So we're pursuing architect firms and gonna hopefully do it right and get a location for materials, because we got materials scattered all over our system. So that's going to be a benefit for us and a great working environment for the future. So that's a nice little endeavor we're working on. The city of Rushmore on the south end of our system is connecting with us. We've dug in pipe there. We're working on getting piping within their water tower site. So they'll be our 36th community outside of interconnects that we have with some of the larger ones, but that will be our 36th member community. So they're excited to get our water. They had some pretty poor quality water in the community of Rushmore. And to not only are we working on the north water source, but on the south end of our system, which does impact southern Pipestone County, we're going to be working with both suppliers, Lewis and Clark and Osceola Rural Water out of Iowa, and acquiring more water. So we're trying to get about 600 and some thousand gallons a day in addition with Lewis and Clark when they get improvements done there. And I'm working with Osceola to get about another 500,000 gallons from there. So long term. The driver of the Osceola acquisition is the city of Brewster. They have industry in there, the soybean processing plant. Big important factor in southwest Minnesota. Their technologies are changing. They're looking to get more water, so we're working with the city to get that water so they can improve on that. So As far as every year, we have a little bit of a rotation for our commissioners as far as re-upping. So Commissioners Earl DeWilde, Randy Kraus, and Peter Peterson have expressed interest in returning as commissioners. So be prepared. You'll probably see that notice come your way. So that's good. And that pretty much wraps up the activities with Lincoln Pipestone for the last year and a half. So
A lot of things happened.
yes, it is rather busy, believe it or not. So, okay,
Question, sir.
yeah.
The livestock ones that hooked up, they're only in certain areas that you're allowing them to hook up?
So throughout our system, we do allow, with the exception of our Burr water supply area. So our Burr, our treatment plant up by west of Canby, that supplies. Picture the Highway 68 corridor running from Canby to Marshall, all the way up to Montevideo. That's our Burr supply area. Here, a few years ago, we are starting to encroach upon our permits, and when it gets hot weather, we can't send water fast enough down that transmission line. So we've really outgrown that whole supply area. Our board decided to put a moratorium on any expanded livestock or any cities connecting until we found another water source. And that was also supported by the DNR.
Yeah,
So-
you have to limit to the,
Yep.
how about the spraying season? Is that, you have water for that?
So that is that tends to be
He's smiling, I know that.
our biggest issue is when all things come together as far as the weather, timing for spraying and everything, it can get really tough.
A lot of hydrants come open on those.
Yes, yep. And we had that happen last year in June. We were scrambling, trying to get water, and we actually ended up having to call all of our communities that we work with, begging to have them enact their ordinances.
Sure.
Can't do too much out in the rural world, but with our cities, we have good relationships, and so we had to ask them at least and we carried that through most of the summer. So it's going to get hot this week. I'm fearful because we are working on today through Thursday. We're working on a road project along Highway 68 between Porter and Marshall. We have to relocate lines according to the DOT. Well, that's our main transmission line. And I think this is going to be the first time we've ever had to actually send out a boil order notice. We don't anticipate cutting the line, but whenever you depressurize, we have to do that. So, and perfect timing, with 100-degree weather. So,
And spraying season.
yeah, and spraying season.
Town people don't understand about the spraying season, but that's a real thing out in a farm, Everybody wants to spray in a 2-week window or whatever, and
Yep.
takes a lot of water.
Yep, takes a lot of water, and they like using our water because of
It's good.
less minerals going through the sprayer head. So
Luke, you got a question?
Yeah, I just was
Yeah.
wondering, when you mentioned that you had twice as many new customers because of the drought, was it a case where they just had poor water, or were like private wells drying up, or?
I think it kind of is all over the board. Yes, maybe because we had a few customers that oftentimes we see where old farm wells will go down to just into the aquifer, whatever they need, and then they stop. Okay, so when through decades of fluctuations of aquifers, if it drops considerable, then they're high and dry. So then they're faced with the fact of, are they going to drill lower the well? Can they, or do they decide to connect? Yes, and sometimes water quality is really the ultimate factor. So it probably the drought causing just empty wells is probably the driver there, but it really is all over the board. So
Yeah, any problem with any of your wells that could happen in time?
Yes, the drought does have an impact with it. We have to monitor that. We are on that all the time. That's why we're expanding into a new water source. That's why we're purchasing additional water, to meet the demands of our system. But I think we've done our due diligence as far as not impacting negatively the aquifer or our wells. Either we put more straws in to lessen the impact locally or find other water sources. So yeah, it's something that we have to stay on top of all the time.
I bet.
So, yep. And with our, we just had a staff meeting yesterday, and one of my treatment plant operator at Holland said that since our ROs are no longer, we have a very expensive piece of equipment that monitors nitrates. He told me that those nitrates have now encroached on over 9 parts per million. Well, the federal level is 10. So we are considering measures now to move water, and I'm trying to pursue funding for biota or something to alleviate that. It's a great water source, but yeah, so we're dealing with those items. So great questions, though. Thank you. So back to the audit presentation. We also used Abdo, and Myers. Now I guess they're referred to as just Abdo out of Mankato. They've done a great job for us over the years. They deemed that this audit was unmodified or a fair and clean opinion for 2021. And I'm going to help, since you got a paper copy, I'm going to help navigate. I'm only going to refer to 3 pages. And I'm going to start with essentially page 10. We'll get down to the nuts and bolts of the finances. So on page 10 shows the net position, and it shows it in comparison with the previous year. The total assets for Lincoln Pipestone as of the end of the year was $93,028,157. This was a 3.5% decrease over the prior year. The total liabilities as of the end of the year was $34,810,000, which was 11.7% decrease. And I'll go and explain a little bit more on that. Lincoln Pipestone had $11,028,000, or just under 19% in unrestricted that we use for operating obligations. There are some line items on there for deferred inflows, outflows. That's specifically for para. So the total net position as of the end of the year is $58,302,000. That's an increase of about $820,000, or 1.4% increase from the prior year. Flipping to page 11, the total revenue, which is charges for services, any capital grants or investment income, that equated to $9,169,000. That was a decrease of just over $500,000, or 6%. The revenues from services did increase, but the reduction was tied to a decrease in the capital grants that we had been affixed to our capital improvement projects. The total operating expenses was $8,349,000. That is an increase of a meager $9,586. So it's very, very stable on the expenses. And of course, Lincoln Pipestone funds depreciation, and any money that we get from grants or hookups is not reported as operating income. It is our equity. Flipping to page 12, on the top half shows the capital assets. The capital assets equated to, as of the end of the year, $67,737,000. That's a decrease of 2.5% in system investments. And you can see in the bulleted items there, the completion of the SCADA, completion of the Lincoln pump station, and new services. So those 84 services that we put in, that's what that's the total cost was, $893,000. The undepreciated cost of the physical assets of the system as of the end of the year was $121,749,000. That's an increase of over 2.6 million since the prior year, and it's all related to capital improvement projects. So the added investments that we've had. If you want further breakdown, that's on page 26, but I'll keep going here. Depreciation on those assets totaled $3,296,000. And at the bottom of page 12 shows our total outstanding debt. The revenue bonds outstanding as of the end of the year was $33,107,000. The total indebtedness decreased $3,675,000, or 10%. And we're pretty proud of that because our board took extreme advantage of interest rates. We had some additional revenue on hand. We paid off some bonds. We refinanced. So that was an incredible blessing to have, knowing that we're going into here in the future. So LPRW did not spend over $750,000 last year on capital improvement projects since we're winding them up. So we didn't have to do a federal single audit. So that was nice. And that concludes my nuts and bolts presentation for the audit. You have any questions?
Just a comment, I think it's a good idea that you're continuing to lower your debt, as much as you are, because just knowing how things are, probably want to be as lean as possible going forward.
Yes. Yep. We manage that quite well. We don't know what the future is for funding. We see a lot of pots out there, but we're just not making inroads here to get to those pots that claim that they're out there for water infrastructure. So, we work with our counties, and we're reaching out to state and officials. And
I think everyone's finding that for infrastructure in general, that, you hear a lot of talk about these various pots of money, but a lot of them seem to just be sitting in Washington or in St. Paul or wherever. And
yes.
yeah.
No. So, but we'll continue to battle, and we have some needs both on the north end and we really have a need here in Pipestone County with our Holland plant. Mm-hmm. We have to do something. It's a great source, and between our Holland and North Holland well fields, we had 8 production wells, and I'm down to 3 right now, and I may have to be dialing back within a week. Down to 1 or 2. So we're in critical stages here. So, but we'll get through it. So.
Well, thank you, Jason.
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you very much.
So that treatment that you mentioned, besides to replace the RO or whatever, is that expensive to implement, or?
I don't know what the cost is now, but when we did our pilot, this treatment is that we did was biota, or it's labeled as biota. It uses bacteria naturally occurring in the ground, feed it a little acid, essentially food source, and make them grow. And the bacteria actually convert nitrates to nitrite and then to nitrogen gas. And we took 20 parts per million nitrates to 0. So the system worked great. But at the time, we were faced with the state having approval, because this was on the drinking water side, and it was kind of cutting edge. They had used it in 1 or 2 facilities in Minnesota for ammonia, but not necessarily for nitrates. Well, they had approved it, but then our board timing was impeccable at that time. Lewis and Clark became available, and so that was our answer. It didn't solve the problem; it just supplanted it. Mm-hmm. It still is on our radar. This process. At the time when we did it, we were estimating it's going to be about $3 million to retrofit our current plant with this new technology. I suspect that it's 1.5 to double. So, but it is on our radar still. So.
Sure, I have one more question. Do you have any idea what percentage of the water that you bill out is for human consumption versus animals or farm use? Probably never been asked that before, but problem is that that 9 nitrate doesn't make a difference for spray water, you know.
Oh, right.
And you gotta treat it all like human consumption, and not all of it goes to human consumption.
Correct.
I understand with that many communities, a big percentage of it does go for human.
Yep, we have some pretty large livestock facilities that use considerably more than most of our communities.
Yeah, and they don't care about the nitrate, and the animal doesn't live long enough to.
Yeah, not so much. However, if for instance, swine, if they have nurseries, they would like to.
Small ones.
Yep, they would like to have nitrates down.
Yeah.
I think there is some impact to that. That's a great question. I don't know, because a lot of our accounts, you know, they'll go through the farmhouse and then on to their livestock. So
Don't spend a lot of time and effort chasing that number, but just.
what I do know, what I have discovered in our data is, if you were to split our system in half, the southern half has more large users, fewer accounts. The northern half, we have couple of lakes that we supply water around. The northern half has more accounts and less large users. So that I do know. There's kind of interesting dynamic in the region. So, yeah, great question though.
Well, thank you, Jason.
Yeah, thank you. Apologize for not having that. We'll do better next time.
I won't go beyond saying I could have missed an email too, so I'm not gonna throw Jody under the bus. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll take a 10-minute break.
Okay.